Hey everybody, Tim here for another Studio Ghibli movie. We're number 3, Grave of the Fireflies, which I'm going to be honest, like I've watched this movie for 15 years now, if not longer. I've always just called it Grave of Fireflies. Never even realized that there was a "the" in there. So, did a tiny bit of research. For those who haven't watched other videos that I've done, I don't really like to do research on the movies. I like to just watch it and record. That's how I do things, with lots of drinking in between. So I know this movie came out in 1988, coincidentally the year I was born, but came out before I did, sadly. So I did not know that it was released as a double feature with My Neighbor Totoro, which, I mean, I'm not going to talk about it too much because that's going to be the next video I do. But wow, that is not the two movies that I would think would go together. But still, it's kind of interesting. This is an interesting one. Like, I'm trying to remember the first time I ever heard of it or saw it or anything. But honestly, I don't remember. Back in the early 2000s, we'll say between like 2002 to 2006-ish, somewhere in there, I got super into anime, at least what I thought was like anime. Like, I'd always loved Dragon Ball Z, stuff like that. But I was trying to branch out and experience new things. And I would go to the local stores, typically like Suncoast, FYE, Sam Goody, stuff like that. And I would just be like, okay, I've heard of this, I want to buy it. I've heard of this, I want to buy it. And I would just kind of buy a bunch of movies, and I'd go home and I'd watch them. That's how I came across most of Studio Ghibli, actually. Stuff like that. And then, of course, the oddballs that were not, like Ergo Proxy, which is a TV show, The Steam Boys, stuff like that. And so I'm pretty sure this movie fell into one of those. And that's just how I came across it. And I was like, okay, let's sit down and watch it. And fucked me up. Like, oh my god. I hate this movie because of how good it is. And it's one of those, like, I have a hard time recommending it for people. To just be like, oh, go ahead, watch this movie. It's so happy. It's like, to a different extent, for lack of a better word, almost like Requiem for a Dream. Like, for those who have seen that movie, or Perfect Blue, to keep it with anime, like, you don't watch that movie to have a good time. Like, it's not a happy movie. And so, like, Grave of the Fireflies is so hard. So, upon doing my research, I did not realize this, but it has been dubbed twice. Once in 1998 and again in 2012. Which I think I've only ever seen the 1998. I had to have, because I've only seen this movie in since the early 2000s is my old DVD copy. So I think that's kind of interesting. The whole movie is just one gut punch after the other. With like the World War II going on, 1945. And you watch these two kids, and first their mom dies, and they live with their aunt. And I don't know, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, their aunt's just a bitch. Like, she is just an awful person. But then upon rewatching it, I'm gonna say, like, as going from a teenager who watched this movie to an adult watching this movie, I'm like, I mean, realistically, no, we never actually see, Setsuko? Like, help, or pitch in, or do anything. Like, every time we see them, he's like, let's go to the beach. Let's do this. And then, sure enough, he's like, I'm going to buy my own stove and make food. And I was like, I mean, realistically, yeah. He didn't do anything to help. So, I don't know. Maybe that's an age thing. Like, I'm seeing it from two different perspectives. Because at first, when I was younger, I was like, she threw him out. And, like, it's all her fault. And then upon rewatching it, I'm like, yeah, he didn't do anything, and he chose to leave, so, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, it's more of a sticky situation than I seem to remember it being. The whole ending scene, just watching their lifestyle is so difficult, and then, of course, when Sita, I'm suck at names, passes away, and the whole cremation, it's so tough. It is so tough. I'm a little surprised. Like, I know the opening scene is actually the end when you watch Setsuko, like, pass away. But, like, I'm surprised they don't, like, go back and just kind of loop it around. But then again, seeing it a second time would just make it that much harder. So, I don't know. I love this movie. I think it is really good and really hard to watch because it is so well done. So, for those who have seen it, I'm curious, like, what draws you to this movie? How do you recommend this movie to people? Like, are you just like, okay, so just get ready to cry and you'll be fine? So I'm just kind of curious about all of it. Like, I mean, they say war is hell, and this is a really interesting viewpoint from, like, this perspective that we don't really see very often, or I don't see very often. So I'm curious what other people think about it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. And like I said, this was a double feature. So, of course, my next video, I will see you guys next time for My Neighbor Totoro.